Hi everyone, it's Vapicuno and I'm guest narrating the third game between McMeghan and Altina in the CALLOUS Invitational 4 tournament. To give you a better idea of why the players made the moves that they made, I'm going to show you their teams based on information gathered through the replays. So this is McMeghan's team, and for the record, one day McMeghan told me that he wanted to build a team with lead Toxic Raikou, which was inspired from triangles. So I cooked this up and gave the team to him. And since I'm also friends with Altina, he knows the team, so McMeghan's surprise value isn't really present here. But it's kind of fun and I like the color scheme of the team and also the idea of double electric spikeless team. So I'm happy to see it used in tours. Okay, anyway, that was a prelude, and let's take a look at the team. So what you have here is a lead toxic Raikou, and it is without leftovers. I'm not going to reveal the item, but you can try to figure it out later on. There is Calm Mind Jirachi, Dark Trio, another Toxic Electric, this time Zapdos, uh, Porygon 2, and Tyranitar. Okay, now let's take a look at Altina's team. So Altina has a Skarmory, a Tyranitar, Metagross, and Blissey. So this is a Skarm Bliss TSS team, but with Metagross over Swampert, and Magneton and Salamence, and Dragon Dance Salamence as the last Pokemon. Alright, let's take a look at the game. Alright, McMeghan leads Raikou and Altina leads Skarmory. Altina goes to Tyranitar and Raikou uses T-Bolt. Okay, so the lead Raikou suggests special spam from McMeghan, and Skarm lead suggests perhaps Skarm Mag or Skarm Duck from Altina. Now, McMeghan T-Bolts, and that may seem like an obvious T1, but it actually means that McMeghan is not afraid of Duck Trio, indicating he probably has a Porygon 2 behind. Now, also, lead Raikou scares out Zapdos, Mans, Skarmory, but it has trouble against T-Tar, Metagross, and so most likely there's a Duck Trio behind on McMeghan's team too. Now, Altina could go to Blissey normally, but that would likely result in an impending Duck Trio trap behind. Thus, Altina goes to Special T-Tar, which against Special Spam is more useful for setting up sand than doing any damage. Interestingly, McMeghan doesn't have any leftovers on Raikou, as you will see. Over here, yep. But it's a change that I made from Triangle's original Raikou set, and I'm not going to reveal the item, but I'll say that it facilitates Raikou as a breaker over here. So it's obvious that Tyranitar is bulky, and from McMeghan's point of view, this is perhaps, this could be a balanced TSS, or it could be a Skarmjolt, which doesn't really have a good pivot against electrics. So on T2, Altina perceives that McMeghan has a few options here. Okay, he could switch, or McMeghan could switch for fear of Earthquake. McMeghan could calm mine up since Tyranitar is special. Well, he doesn't know yet if it's special, but if it is, then Raikou is at an advantage, and yet if Tyranitar is physical, then Duck Trio KOs anyway. Another possibility, of course, is that McMeghan just T-bolts down, possibly with possibly with a follow-up of something that maintains the momentum to prevent Altina from spiking up if McMeghan went to Duck Trio instead. So Altina actually goes for Roar. And Roar is a good mid-ground against everything. It seems like Tyranitar has taken a lot of damage, but on CM spam, Raiko and Suicune are frequently the only things with immediate offensive presence. Stuff like Celebi and Jirachi tend to need a calm mind before hitting really hard. So Raiko can't really switch in much, however, and it's not unreasonable to roar here, especially to guard against CM. Uh, Remember that Altina's team is made out of a bunch of physical stuff, so like Raiko is not getting in easy. Okay, so McMeghan, let's see, goes for a Calm Mind over here while Altina goes to Metagross. And Calm Mind is a hedge between a switch on Altina's part and Fire Blast, while Altina tries to keep the sack by pivoting to Metagross on an expected HP grass. Either that or Altina simply does not have a fire move on T-Tar because it's a Skarm Mech team and it could be running Ice Beam to guard against DD Mans and HP Grass to break Swampert. So from McMeghan's perspective, this is looking like a balanced TSS because you have a Roar Tar. Now, Skarm Jolts would probably have a physical Tar that isn't using Roar but Focus Punch. And this team has a Metagross over a Swampert probably. So if you take reference to the typical beer lover TSS, then you need something else at the back to help defensively because Metagross is just a little more frail than defensive Swampert. But it's too early to tell what that could be because it could be as simple as a counter Blissey, which would make a lot of sense given Pursuit Tar. It could be an offensive part, it could be a DD Mans, or even just a reordering of BKC's Breloom team. I mentioned Counter Bliss because that's going to be a consideration later on with Dugtrio. Another thing I want to say is that Altina didn't go to Blissey immediately, and that might suggest that Blissey isn't T-Wave, but it could also be that Altina is guarding against a Wish or a sub-CM Jirachi, which is rarer in the early game, especially against, on the CM spam too, but it's possible that McMeghan didn't switch in. I mean, it's possible because McMeghan didn't switch Rachi in on his own accord, but Rachi was roared in. So on turn 4, McMeghan just goes for the Fire Punch and gets the crit. The thing is, CM spam is kind of like a no turning back archetype, and once you CM up, you're usually better off committing to it because you kind of lack pivots. The crit kind of sucked because Altina could have gone to Bliss and then tried to wrestle Super Archie down. Another possibility would be for McMeghan to go to Zapdos. But I think that Zapdos is revealing Zapdos isn't too great over here because it's not a common mon on CM spam, and it's good to give the impression to the opponent that you've pivoted around Raikou, the electric type, and done whatever you can to trade with it. And for a second electric type to appear, it can be devastating. So yeah, I mean that crit sucked, but Fire Punch was perfectly fine play over there. Okay, so Skarmory comes in and Altina phases Jirachi out. This kind of indicates that Altina doesn't have anything better to deal with Rachi, which makes sense. I mean, Tyranitar is the number 1 Rachi check usually, but it's a special Tar over here. So it's good fortune for Altina over here that Duck is roared in because Altina can get a free spike, and now turn 6 is a no-brainer going back to Raikou, and turn 7 is also a no-brainer because, well, sometimes, I mean, it can be good to be aggressive and land the toxic, but Skarmory isn't that useful in a special spam MU, and it is plausible if Altina decides to sack Skarmory, just to not leave Blissey susceptible to, um, you know, any funky shenanigans, Dark Trio shenanigans. Okay, so here Raikou reveals Toxic. Right, and now Toxic applies massive pressure to Blissey, but it also reduces the likelihood that Raikou has CM, especially without leftovers, and that means that Altina can plausibly use Magneton to take down Raikou. Blissey is super important to keep alive in a special spam MU, and Altina needs he needs to attempt to get Raikou to die to Magneton, not Blissey, so that Dark Trio doesn't just win. Okay, so on turn 9, Altina uses Wish, and that kind of convinces me that Altina's last move is Counter. And that's because, well, you see, with Pursuit Tyranitar, Blissey doesn't need Ice Beam for Gengar, but it still needs to deal with Dark Trio, so it's probably Counter on the last slot, and furthermore Counter helps to deal with stuff like Swampert, which would otherwise, Swampert and Metagross, which Metagross itself otherwise can't handle very well. And through this sequence, Altina has succeeded in using Magneton to deal with Raikou so that Blissey doesn't get Dark Trap. Okay. So now, let's think about what the Mag reveal means. With Magneton plus Pursuit, you expect Altina's last to be Salamence, Aerodactyl, maybe Flygon, Gyarados, but the tempo isn't really with Altina right here because McMeghan still has a full HP Porygon 2 at the back. And I think that's why Porygon 2 is an awesome mon. It's not just a Dark Trapper, but it's also a good wall against fast physical threats, which CM Spam really hates. So on T12, I wonder if McMeghan necessarily should have ducked over here, losing further momentum to Skarm. Now, I think the answer is still yes, because the second spike is not that bad, but also McMeghan's Zapdos has Toxic to further break Blissey after the first unsuccessful attempt by Raikou. So McMeghan really wants to prevent further sacks, so to prevent Blissey from abusing Natural Cure to get out of this toxic trap. So also bringing in Rachi is premature. One possibility for McMeghan would be to bring Tyranitar in, but Magneton's HP damage was just on the edge of the timid model split. So getting T-bolted and then being susceptible to Altina's last wouldn't sound so fun. Now let's go on. We see the Earthquake. Skarmory comes in. And Altina lands the second spike. Kind of wonder if that's the best way to go. And I think it is because chances are, Dark Trio is going to kill something else, and that thing is going to be Blissey, right? So if Altina can get the third spike, which gives a huge jump in spikes damage on the second Dark Trap, that would be really useful for him. But now Altina reveals Zapdos, and here McMeghan uses Toxic, and this is a good time to be using Toxic and not Thunderbolt, because the whole reason, as I said, for Skarmory laying that second spike is to lay that third spike. So Altina's definitely preserving Skarmory here. And Altina goes to Blissey. So he tries to pull the same trick as he did against Raikou. But the thing is, McMeghan's Zapdos is at full HP, has leftovers, and it's just, McMeghan has so many attempts to perform a Duck Trap among raining down T-Bolts, so it's hard for Altina to navigate this. You see, one possibility would have been to sack Skarm and get Blissey in again on full, but then the only way by which Blissey does not get toxic as Zapdos gets KO'd is for both T-Tar and the Mans at the back to take damage. And then it becomes winning for Superachi. So Altina just has to let Blissey go in any case. Yeah. And if Altina wants to clean, he's going to need to get Porygon 2 out of the way. Okay, now look at T17. This is a really important turn. I just cannot stress how important this is. Because it's so nuanced. Now, you see, it just seemed like it just seemed like McMeghan, hit the most straightforward move, which is Earthquake, and Altina, for some reason, decided to use Seismic Toss. But the fact is, well, not the fact, but rather, if you're being astute, then you should realize that Duck Trio being alive is actually a liability for McMeghan. Because if Altina's last is Dragon Dance Salamence, then it has the momentum if Duck Trio is alive. So Duck Trio is better off being dead. Now, in all likelihood, McMeghan already highly suspects that Altina has counter, and Altina suspects that McMeghan has beat up because Rock Slide isn't needed with Porygon 2 around, and with the aid of Toxic, beat up can really bring Blissey down. So ironically, both players use the move that is losing. Assuming McMeghan actually has beat up. McMeghan wants to die to shot by Blissey, whereas Blissey actually wants to die to Duck Trio. Okay, so this is a really interesting turn, a really nuanced turn. And now Salamence comes in, and for that Salamence to sweep, it needs to chip that Porygon 2 severely. So Altina makes the play that he needs to make, which is to go to Pursuit Tyranitar on this turn. So it's a nice double switch to attempt to pull the trigger. Now, with some context over here, if McMeghan did not change my team, then my version of this team has Hidden Power fighting Porygon 2, and it would have been a 50-50 to tank the Pursuit and KO back instead. And Altina knows this team, so he probably knew that it was a hard decision, thinking that Porygon 2 has HP fighting. And the thing is, even if Porygon 2 stayed in over here to take the crunch, right? As you'll see. Yeah, even if he stayed in to take the crunch, it's not a guaranteed win for Altina, because if Zapdos manages to use Toxic while Mans DDs, then Mans needs to get all 5 remaining moves right, while McMeghan could pivot around Zapdos and Rachi, to avoid being KO'd by Toxic. T19, T20, these were difficult moves for both of them, but McMeghan is still favored to win. So the thing is, well, that's at T19, but by T20, it's clear that McMeghan has the huge edge over here, because Altina got the 50-50 wrong. And now there is an interesting possibility, which is that Altina was trying to set up a DD brick man's sweep. But I mean, it's possible given that with Magneton, Altina could trap Metagross, especially with Skarmory providing some spikes damage. But in that case, Rachi walls the brick DD mans. So, well, anyway, Altina loses the interaction, and McMeghan will rely on the lack of flinch from Salamence to win. So on T22, you see, nobody's expecting Raw, right? So that's perfectly safe. Skarmory goes down. And now on T25, you see what seems like a special defense DD mans, but that said, loses just a bit of attack that's necessary to get the one-hit KO on Zapdos. But Altina gets the flinch, and now he just needs another one. McMeghan somehow decides to see if T-Tars arrives. Now Altina needs the flinch on Porygon 2. And he doesn't get it, so McMeghan wins the game. Now, I think both players did what they could. It was a really nice Tyranitar double switch from Altina, but that early Fire Punch crit on Metagross kind of made things a little difficult, especially since Metagross could also be used to apply pressure on Porygon 2. It could be used as an additional sack. So it's a bit unfortunate how that turn went, but overall it was an enjoyable game. It shows that CM spam is still relevant. You could still get some good results out of it, and I hope you enjoyed the game.